What it do, Eldrazi Scion? Welcome back to this week's version of Let Me Cook. We have another fan requested deck list that you guys wanted to go over. It was from one of my good friends, Young God Studios from TikTok. Really awesome content, by the way. Make sure to check them out. And we have up today Ghired, Mirrored of the Wilds. Ghired is notably a 3-cost 3/3 with haste that states that non-token creatures you control have tap. Create a token that's a copy of target token you control that enter the battlefield this turn. A very open-ended commander that already has some existing pathways, but I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on it. So first,
let me cook.
We are going to hop right into our card advantage section. The first card I wanted to spotlight on this list is going to be Ghired's Uprising. It's over-reliable. It's a 3-cost enchantment that says when it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card, so it's just a nice and easy cantrip. It also has the upside of creatures you control have trample, which could be relevant later. And it also says whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. The cool thing about that is it still triggers off your tokens, and the same applies with Elemental Bond. It only cares about creatures with power 3 or greater though. Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. It's going to be the next section of this area, which includes Disciple of Fairlease, which is a 6-cost 3/3 that enters the battlefield. It said you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is this creature's power. Now, the really crazy thing about this card is that it doubles as a land if necessary. So if you're like, man, I really need a land, here you go. But otherwise, it's just really incredible draw at the end of the day, similar to Life's Legacy, which is another card that can be included inside this deck list. The last card is coming straight from Bloomburrow, so straight off the press. It is called Season of Gathering. It is a 6-cost sorcery, and it's a moto card notably. You choose up to 5 paws worth of materials, and then you can choose each category more than once. For the first section, you can get a +1/+1 counter on creature you control. It gains Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. For the second slot, you have choose artifact or enchantment, destroy all permanents of the chosen type, and then for the very last one, which is the most relevant for this section that we're on, it says draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. We love options around here.
Let me cook.
Moving over to ramp, so mana dorks are going to be your best friend when it comes to this category. Cards like Avis's Pilgrim and even Palladium Mirror are going to be clutch for the early game and get even better as the late game goes on, as Ghired can use them as ways to create more tokens. One of the cards I wanted to highlight in here is going to be Glaring Fleshraker. It is a 3-cost 2/2 Eldrazi drone, and it says whenever you cast a colorless spell, you create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn, which is really cool. So if you have like mana rocks inside of here, it's going to be clutch as time goes on. The other element, it says whenever another colorless creature you control enters the battlefield under your control, it does 1 damage to each opponent. Now remember, Ghired also allows you to create token copies, so you can make more and more copies of those 0/1s that enter the battlefield. I'm gonna need you guys to tap in on this one. Speaking of tapping in, we got my #1 card in this category, which is Nyx Bloom Ancient. It is a 7-cost 5/5 elemental with trample. If you would tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. All those little mana rocks and mana dorks, they're not going to be double the problem at the end of the day. They're going to be triple the problem.
Let me cook.
You might want to sit down for this because the pitch for some people is going to be a little rough. I know many of you have probably thought you've seen the last of these from Modern Horizons 3, but we're bringing it back around one more time. We are doing Eldrazi's. The hope is to cast small scions and spawns, make copies of those, and then cast the big titans towards the end.
Let me cook.
In this category, I'm going to be talking about some of the fun Eldrazi token synergies that exist within these color combinations. The first one I'm going to bring up is Emrakul's Evangel. It is a 3-cost 3/2 that has tap, sacrifice Emrakul's Evangel, and any number of other non-Eldrazi creatures. It doesn't care if it's token or not. You put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield for each sacrificed creature. Surely that card can't get out of hand with your commander. Speaking of cards that cannot get out of hand with your commander, we have Angelic Aberration. They are a 6-cost Eldrazi angel for 4 with flying and vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of creatures. Once again, it doesn't matter if it's token or not. with base power or toughness of 1 or less. Create that many 4/4 colorless Eldrazi angel creature tokens with flying and vigil. The next 2 cards I'll mention are very similar. The very first one is going to be Idol of Oblivion, so you can tap it, you can draw the card, activate only if you create a token. You know, we're not going to be creating a crazy amount of tokens inside of this deck, but you know, it is nice to get to draw here and there. But seriously though, it's really cool for that aspect. But then you can pay a sacrifice and you can create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token, which is really nice considering that you can make a copy of it. My top card in this category, and the last card I'll mention pairing out these last 2 cards, are going to be Ulamog's Dreadsire. It is a 10 cost 10/10 Eldrazi with Vigilance. It has Ward, sacrifice a permanent with mana value 1 or greater. It also says you can tap it, you can create a 10/10 colorless Eldrazi creature token, which is insane.
Let me cook.
I combine these 2 categories together because I don't really have too much of a backup plan. Inside of this type of deck, you kind of just want a full send, but there is a card that doubles up as both a protection piece and on top of that a win con, and that's going to be a Chroma's Wheel. It is a 4 cost instant that says choose one, and if you control your commander, you get both of these. And then one of them says creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn. And in the other area it says creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from each color until end of turn. Yeah, this card is straight up bonkers and can fill in the slot for both of those really nicely. And as far as the actual win cons, you're in very much a beatdown strategy, so you want to overwhelm your opponents with either your tokens that you're producing, or of course the big titans like, you know, the new Ulamogs. There's one card I wanted to highlight in this category, and it's called Kozilek the Broken Reality. It is a 9 cost 9/9, and it says when you cast a spell, up to 2 target players each manifest 2 cards from their hands. For each card manifested this way, you draw a card. And it also says, which is the most relevant thing, other colorless creatures you control get +3/+2, which is a really, really awesome baseline Anthem ability. And that concludes our video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the content all the way through to the end. Shout out to Jvargazzz Studios once again. Like I said, they're very awesome on TikTok. Make sure to check them out. And stay tuned for more content, guys. Make sure you're in the Discord. I try to stay active in there as much as possible. You can also get updates about my videos ahead of time. And I also will be doing a new video coming out in the next week or 2 of Bloomborough gameplay. So stay tuned for that. Please make sure that you guys are liking and subscribing down below. And take care and see you in the next video.